was never marked on any map. No warning sign. No name anyone could remember correctly. People just called it that stretch of highway. The kind drivers swear feels longer at night than it ever should. This happened in northern Nevada, where the desert stretches wide and empty, and highways run straight for miles with nothing but dust, stars, and the hum of your own engine to keep you company. If you ever driven there after midnight, you know the silence isn't quiet. It presses in on you. Ethan Miller had driven highway 50 dozens of times before. Truckers called it the loneliest road in America, but to Ethan, it was just another overnight run. Another long drive to keep his mind busy, and his bills paid. That night, he left Fallon just after 11:30 p.m. No traffic, clear skies, full tank, perfect driving conditions. The radio played low, some late-night AM station fading in and out as he rolled east. His headlights carved a narrow tunnel through the darkness, the yellow line sliding beneath him in a steady, hypnotic rhythm. Mile markers ticked by normally at first. Ethan checked his dashboard clock. 12:07 a.m. That's when the road began to feel wrong. Not broken, not dangerous, just stretched. The engine sounded farther away than it should have, like the noise wasn't coming from under the hood, but from somewhere behind him. His headlights seemed dimmer, swallowed by the dark instead of pushing it back. Ethan turned the radio up. Static. He tapped it once. Then again, nothing but a low hiss, like breathing through clenched teeth. He reached down, switched it off, and immediately felt the silence rush back in. Thicker now, heavier, like the night itself was leaning closer. Mile marker 65 appeared on the right. Good. Everything still made sense. But 5 minutes later, when Ethan glanced down at his odometer, his stomach tightened. He should have passed marker 66 by now. He slowed slightly, scanning the shoulder. Nothing. The road stayed straight, flat, endless. Then, far ahead, reflective white numbers caught his headlights. Ethan exhaled, annoyed at himself for getting tense over nothing. He drove past it, checked the time. 12:18 a.m. 11 minutes had passed. Too long for 1 mile. He told himself the desert played tricks on people. Distance warped out here. Time felt strange when there were no lights, no landmarks. That explanation worked, until the road dipped gently downward and rose again, and he saw the same marker ahead, standing exactly where it had been before. Same scuffed metal post, same bent corner, same faded paint. Ethan slowed to a crawl. His headlights washed over it. Mile 66. A cold shiver crawled up his arms. He passed it again. This time, he didn't look at the clock. He counted seconds in his head, forced himself to focus on the hum of the tires, the steady pull of the engine. 30 seconds. A minute. 2. The road never curved, never changed. Then, dead ahead, Ethan slammed the brakes. The truck shuddered, gravel crunching under the tires as it came to a stop on the shoulder. Dust rolled up around the cab, drifting slowly through his headlights like smoke. The mile marker stood a few feet in front of his bumper, close enough to touch. Ethan stared at it, heart hammering so hard he could feel it in his throat. "This isn't funny," he muttered, though no one could hear him. He grabbed his phone. No signal, not even emergency bars. He turned the engine off. The sudden silence was crushing. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the CB radio crackled. Ethan froze. He hadn't turned it on. Static filled the cab. Then a low, distorted voice pushed through, stretched and warped like it was being dragged across metal. "You missed your exit." Ethan's mouth went dry. "Who is this?" he said, his voice barely steady. Static again. Then, "There isn't much road left." His hands shook as he reached for the radio mic. "Where am I?" The response came immediately. "You're still driving." The dashboard clock flickered. 12:18 a.m. Still, Ethan's breath quickened. He turned the key, bringing the engine back to life. The headlights flared, illuminating the road ahead. The mile marker was gone. The highway stretched forward again, empty and straight. Relief washed over him so hard it almost hurt. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay, that's it. Just keep moving." He pulled back onto the road and accelerated. The speedometer climbed. The road didn't change. The desert didn't move. It was like he was driving on a treadmill, motion without distance. Then he saw headlights. Behind him, Ethan glanced into his rearview mirror. A single car followed at a distance, its lights dim and yellow, hovering just at the edge of visibility. He hadn't seen it approach. It was simply there. Good, he muttered. Someone else is out here. He slowed slightly. The car slowed too. He sped up. So did the car. Ethan's pulse spiked. Don't do this, he whispered. The headlights behind him grew brighter, closer. But the car itself never became clear. It stayed wrapped in shadow, like the darkness refused to let his eyes focus on it. The CB radio crackled again. You shouldn't have stopped. Ethan swerved slightly, correcting himself. What do you want? He shouted. The voice responded, calm and almost curious, to finish the drive. Suddenly, the road signs ahead changed. Not towns he recognized, not exits he'd ever seen. They were blank, just reflective green panels with no words. The highway dipped again, and when it rose, the road narrowed, not physically, but visually, like the edges were being pulled inward, the darkness creeping closer to the yellow lines. Ethan's breathing turned shallow. He checked the mirror again. The car was closer now, close enough that he could see its shape. Old, boxy, too clean for a desert road, and in its windshield, no driver. The headlights flickered. The car drifted into the opposite lane, pulling alongside Ethan's truck. Ethan turned his head slowly, dread tightening his chest. The car's windows were dark, but as it matched the speed, something shifted inside. Faces, dozens of them, pale, still, pressed against the glass from the inside, their mouths open in silent screams. The CB radio screamed with static. You're almost there. Ethan shut his eyes. When he opened them, the car was gone. The road was normal, wide, straight. Mile marker 67 stood calmly on the shoulder ahead. Ethan laughed hysterically, tears blurring his vision. I made it, he said. I made it. He drove past the marker, checked the clock. 12:19 a.m. 1 minute had passed. His laughter died in his throat. In the distance, headlights reflected off metal. Mile marker 66. Again, but this time, something was different. It wasn't standing beside the road. It was standing in the middle of it. And as Ethan approached, the numbers slowly turned black, like they were burning away. The engine cut out. The lights died. The darkness rushed in. Ethan's scream never echoed, because there was nothing left for sound to travel through. Interstate 44 runs straight to the heart of Missouri, cutting across farmland, forest, and small towns that disappear faster than you can remember their names. During the day, it's unremarkable. Trucks, families, rest stops that all look the same. But at night, the highway feels watched, especially near the old Truman stretch, where traffic cameras have a habit of malfunctioning for no documented reason. This story comes from a former state traffic analyst named Laura Hensley. For 7 years, her job was simple. Review overnight footage when accidents were reported but no vehicles were found. Most cases had easy explanations. False calls, wildlife, weather, until one file changed everything. It started on October 14th. Just after 2 a.m., a 911 caller reported a silver sedan driving the wrong way down I-44. Headlights off, swerving between lanes. The caller was frantic, certain there would be a collision. State Patrol dispatched units immediately. Laura pulled up the traffic feed. Camera after camera showed empty asphalt. No sedan, no headlights, no movement. She assumed the call was a prank, until another call came in, then another, all describing the same car, same behavior, same location. And yet, nothing appeared on screen. Laura rewound the footage. Still nothing. She zoomed in, enhanced contrast, adjusted exposure. The road remained empty. But when she slowed the footage frame by frame, something unsettling happened. The road markings bent slightly, like heat distortion. The shadows shifted without a source. And at exactly 2:17 a.m., every camera along a 3-mile stretch dropped frames simultaneously. Not froze. Dropped, as if something passed through them too fast. Or didn't register at all. At 2:19 a.m., all feeds resumed. Still empty. Then the accident call came in. Single vehicle crash. No witnesses. Mile marker 121. Laura pulled that camera. The footage showed a red pickup truck stopped sideways across the shoulder. Driver door open. Hazard lights blinking. The driver stood near the guardrail, hands on his head, shaking. No other car. No debris. No skid marks leading from another vehicle. Just a pickup. Laura leaned closer to the screen. For half a second, just one frame. Something reflected in the pickup side mirror. Silver. She paused the footage and zoomed in. The reflection wasn't clear enough to identify details, but the shape was unmistakable. A car, directly behind him. The next frame showed nothing. State Patrol interviewed the driver later that morning. His name was Michael Trent, a delivery contractor driving overnight routes. He told them the silver sedan had come out of nowhere. No headlights, no sound, just suddenly there, inches from his bumper, riding him aggressively. Every time he sped up, it stayed glued to him. Every time he slowed, it didn't pass. It didn't want to get ahead of me, he said. It wanted me to look at it. Michael admitted he'd checked his mirrors constantly, trying to see who was driving. There was someone in the front seat, he said slowly, but they weren't sitting right. When asked to explain, Michael shook his head. They were facing me. Laura watched the interview later, feeling her skin crawl. Michael said the crash happened when the sedan suddenly disappeared from his mirrors. He looked forward again and slammed into the guardrail, disoriented, convinced he'd lost control of the road itself. He never saw the car leave. When patrol asked Laura if the sedan appeared on any cameras, she told them the truth. No, she said, it doesn't exist on our system. The officers exchanged uneasy looks. That should have been the end of it. But 2 nights later, another call came in. Same stretch of road. Same description. Silver sedan. No headlights. Aggressive behavior. Laura pulled the feeds again. Nothing. But this time, she noticed something new. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the audio feed from a nearby traffic mic spiked. The system usually filtered out background noise, but this spike was sharp and sudden. She isolated it and played it back. At first, it sounded like wind. Then she heard it, breathing, not from a microphone near the road, from inside a vehicle. Slow, rhythmic, as if someone was exhaling right beside the mic. The sound ended abruptly when the cameras dropped frames again. Laura's hands trembled. She checked the date stamps. Same time, same minute. She started pulling older footage. Weeks, months, years, every October. Every time between 2:10 and 2:20 a.m. Frame drops, audio spikes, calls reporting a silver sedan. Always the same, always invisible. She found the earliest record from 1996. Back then, there were no digital cameras, only handwritten incident reports. One entry caught her eye. Unidentified vehicle caused driver to swerve. Vehicle not found. Driver claims it was inside my mirror. The analyst who wrote it had added a note in the margin. Check old crash reports. Laura did. She traced the highway's construction history and found something buried deep in archived documents. Before I-44 was expanded, the road had been rerouted slightly north. The original lane, now abandoned, ran through a shallow ravine. In 1995, a fatal accident occurred there. A silver sedan. Headlights off. Wrong way. 5 people killed. The car burned completely. No remains were ever identified. No driver was listed. The wreckage had been removed. The road paved over. Laura sat back in her chair, her heart pounding. That night, she stayed late. 2:15 a.m. approached. The cameras hummed quietly. 2:17. The screens flickered. The frame counter skipped. And for the first time, Laura saw it, not on the road, but in the reflection of the camera housing. A silver shape passed beneath the lens, close enough that the metal casing briefly reflected its hood. And in that reflection, a face, too pale, eyes wide, mouth stretched open, breathing hard, like it was straining against glass. Laura screamed and fell back from the console. By the time she regained control, the feeds were normal again. Empty road. No car. No evidence. She resigned the next day. Laura never drives, 44 at night. And if you ever do, there's something she wants you to remember. If a car rides your bumper without headlights, don't slow down. Don't speed up. And whatever you do, don't look too closely in your mirror. Because some things don't want to pass you. They want to be seen. There's a stretch of highway in West Texas where the road runs so straight and flat that drivers joke it feels like driving off the edge of the world. No curves, no elevation, just a black ribbon cutting through dust and scrubland, disappearing into heat haze during the day and pure darkness at night. Locals call it the Dead Mile, not because of accidents, but because people swear something changes there. This story comes from a former EMT named Daniel Ruiz, who worked overnight emergency response routes for nearly 12 years. He'd seen fatal crashes, suicides, roadside tragedies that never made the news. But there was one call he never filed, because officially, it never happened. The dispatch came in at 3:06 a.m. Single vehicle, possible rollover. Highway 285, mile marker 214. Daniel acknowledged the call and rolled out alone. The nearest unit was over 30 minutes away, and the dispatcher's voice had sounded strangely calm, as if she already knew how this would end. The drive was uneventful. Too uneventful. No radio chatter. No traffic. Not even insects hitting the windshield. As Daniel passed mile marker 213, his headlights caught something ahead. A car, stopped in the middle of the road. No hazard lights. No movement. Daniel slowed, heart rate picking up. He pulled his ambulance onto the shoulder and stepped out, the desert air cold and still. "Hello," he called. No response. The car was an older sedan, dark-colored, engine running. Exhaust drifted lazily from the tailpipe. The driver's door was closed. Daniel approached carefully. Inside, a man sat behind the wheel, head forward, hands resting calmly at 10 and 2. Daniel knocked on the window. Nothing. He opened the door. The man was ice cold, dead, but not injured. No blood, no trauma, no signs of distress. Just gone. Daniel checked for a pulse anyway. Nothing. Then he noticed the smell. Not decay. Ozone. Like burnt wiring after a lightning strike. Daniel radioed dispatch. "Confirmed fatality," he said. "No visible cause. I need law enforcement and medical examiner." Static. He tried again. Nothing. The radio screen glitched briefly, then displayed one line of text. "You're almost there." Daniel frowned. "That's not funny," he muttered, tapping the device. The text vanished. Behind him, the car's headlights flicked on. Daniel turned. The road behind him was gone. Not dark. Gone. Where the highway should have stretched back toward civilization. There was only empty blackness, like the world had been erased past a certain point. Panic crept in. Daniel took a step backward and froze. The dead man in the driver's seat opened his eyes. They were calm, familiar. "Don't leave me here," the man said. Daniel staggered back, heart pounding. "You're dead," he whispered. The man smiled faintly. "So are you," he replied. The ambulance doors slammed shut behind Daniel. He spun around. The vehicle's interior lights were on, and inside, someone was sitting on the gurney. Daniel's stomach dropped. It was him. Same uniform, same face, same expression of quiet exhaustion. The version on the gurney opened his eyes. "About time," it said. "You missed a turn." Daniel backed away, shaking his head. "This isn't real," he said. "I'm awake." The desert air grew heavy. The highway ahead of him brightened, as if dawn were approaching, but the sun never rose. Instead, headlights appeared, dozens of them, all facing toward him. Cars lined up across the road. stretching into the distance. Every make, every model, every era, all idling, all waiting. Daniel looked closer. Every driver was alone. Every face blank. Every pair of eyes fixed on him. The man from the sedan stepped out of his car. Up close, Daniel recognized him. A call from 3 years earlier. Single vehicle fatality. Highway 285. Heart attack behind the wheel. Daniel remembered covering the body with a sheet. I didn't finish my drive, the man said gently. Neither did they. He gestured to the cars. Daniel's breath shook. What is this place? The man smiled. The part of the road you don't remember driving. The headlights flickered. The line of cars began to move. Slowly, silently, one by one, they pulled forward, passing Daniel. As each car rolled by, he saw scenes reflected in their windows. A woman texting as she drifted across lanes. A teenager falling asleep at the wheel. A man arguing with someone who wasn't there. Mistakes. Moments. Final seconds. When the last car passed, only one remained. The ambulance. The doors swung open. The version of Daniel on the gurney looked at him patiently. You're late, it said. Dispatch hates that. Daniel felt tears run down his face. Can I go back? He asked. The answer came from the darkness behind him. You already did. The world lurched. Daniel woke up gasping. Sunlight streamed through his windshield. His ambulance was parked neatly on the shoulder of Highway 285. Engine cold. Radio silent. No record of a call. No report filed. Daniel quit his job that week. But sometimes, late at night, he wakes up convinced he can hear engines idling outside his house. Waiting. Because some drives don't end when you think they do. Some highways remember you. And one night, they'll finish the trip for you. Highways connect cities. They carry us home. But late at night, when the road is empty and your thoughts grow loud, remember this. Not every drive ends where you expect. Not every car wants to pass you. And not every road lets you leave. So if you're watching this alone, and you're driving right now, maybe wait until you get home.